All right, you guys, welcome back to the Elevated Frequency podcast, where we explore the pathways of embodiment, healing, and awakening to the deeper truths within us. So, today I am so honored to be joined by our Green Door Life client and now dear friend, Allison. And together we're going to step into her story through her journey with our 12-week Awaken Your Nutrition program that certainly wove nutrition, movement, and somatic practices, each revealing kind of this new layer into her authentic self. So, what you'll hear is now not just a conversation about health, but about transformation. The body becomes a portal for self discovery, and how tending to our physical, emotional, and energetic rhythms can actually unlock profound shifts in the way we live and lead in our. So I can't wait to share this conversation with you guys. So let's dive in and welcome.
Thanks, Shannon. So good to be here.
It's
I was
so
really
good.
looking forward to this.
I know, me too. We've had so many conversations and now we just get this dedicated time to really kind of discuss how your journey has been, because it's been such a beautiful one and also a slightly unique one to the Awaken Your Nutrition program, only as of recently. So in the last year, we started to integrate a lot of somatic emotional release practices, some fascial release practices, and you took full advantage of that. And it was and has been such a beautiful journey. But I would love to kind of rewind and ask
Mhm.
you kind of what led you to the Green Door, what led you to wanting to work with us to dive into this transformative process for yourself? Like, where did it start for you?
Great question. Yeah, so Courtney, I know her as Courtney Ray. She was a student at the high school where I taught, and just I followed her on Instagram through her journey, and she had posted about y'all. And
Mhm.
I had been one of the deepest things for me is I had been considering my my health and things that were deep inside of me for the last year. This journey has been a lot longer than a year, but in the last year, specifically things around my body. And I was just in prayer about it. And so when Courtney posted, I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna check that out." Most of the time, whenever she posts something, I'm like, I gotta check that out. And so when I did, and I saw the program in the way that y'all presented it online, that was awesome. But then when it said that I could have a call to see if it was the right fit, that to me was a total green flag of like, okay,
Hmm.
let's do this. And so when you and I got on, and I knew before I started some of the things I felt like were really important to share with you about my story, and
Mhm.
I can go into depth about that if that would be helpful. But one of the things that spoke resonated with me the most highly was when you said, I feel like my story mirrors your story a lot, and that is very rare. And
Mm.
so when you were talking about some of the different avenues that y'all have to help, like, really transform someone's life, I was like, okay, then I think this would be great. And so when you were telling me there was an emotional component, some of the work that I've done with a trauma counselor, some of the work that I've done through healing prayer, there were things that I meant, oh man, I think that this is going to be paramount for me to do both. Like, to
Mhm.
meet with you, make that a priority. And I think I even told you, I was like, I want to do the first one with you before we start. And that was actually very important because I got so triggered on like day two.
That's right. I remember that now.
I know. I know.
So
Um,
good. But I mean, also, like, you were perfectly triggered to
yes,
allow for these things to come up for us to dive into. I mean, looking back at it, it's all perfectly placed, right?
it was. And I do think that that was one of the things that immediately, I mean, I remember being in my house and I could tell what was going on inside of me, where I knew some of the things y'all were asking us to do were very practical, very realistic, like nothing somebody should be worked up about. It's why I signed up for school. I would tell my friends, I'm in my nutrition school, and they got a big kick out of that. And so I, but it was so vulnerable for me. It was vulnerable for me to wanna share, like, it was a lot for me to put myself out there because I had been shut down in so many places around like me saying what I felt like I needed for my body. And so the way that y'all set up just the platform where I knew I could reach out to you, that was how it happened. Was I was just like, I sent you an audio message and said, "Hey, like this is coming up for me." And that really was the first thing that started, "Oh, wow, you're teaching me a way to communicate
Mm,
that at 43 years old, like, I still don't have this tool set to be able to do." And that I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be so great," because even though
mhm.
it was challenging and vulnerable, I could tell then y'all were really equipped to be able to help somebody take the steps to go through having those conversations, like, even me being willing to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, oh, I really appreciate you bringing us, like, even starting the conversation back to that because the way that we are used to people either holding space for us with something as intimate as our bodies and the way we care for our bodies and the way we see our bodies and the way we speak to ourselves. It's such an intimate and vulnerable container for
Um,
us from the get-go, and then our role as facilitators and as coaches, and I remember this in some of the conversations with you initially, our role is essentially to give you an example of what it can look like to remove good or bad or right or wrong from the experience and, like, getting it right,
mhm.
but rather giving you the opportunity to be held in a container that isn't about pushing or forcing anything. It's really about exploration and turning the lens back for you to go, well, what works best for you?
Yeah,
And what was so interesting because of your journey is that you and I worked so frequently about helping you to realize that your body is so smart, like, and so clear actually.
mhm.
And that for some of us, we've been taught that we're not supposed to listen to our body and
Yeah,
that instead we're supposed to outsource. And we've been told at some times that it's not okay to feel certain things. And that was one of the things that you and I got to work through were moments like in our somatic emotional release sessions where, you had memories that came up. Yeah, I mean, you should share that if you would like to, because
yes, yes.
cool part of the story.
Yeah, 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 and before we go over to the memory, I did wanna say this one thing because I think that even at the beginning of our time talking about this, this was such a big deal for me, um, where I was asking you, so I was saying, "Okay, I need," like, it was something I wasn't comfortable with sharing,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Okay, I just need to tell you, Shannon, I'm having a hard time with wanting to share this with Jocelyn." So Jocelyn was my dedicated nutrition coach. Shout out to her,
Yeah.
most patient woman on the planet. And so when I said that to you and you acknowledged, I could see why this would be hard for you. And that alone first was very validating, which is what I needed first. And then
Mhm.
you said, what would it look like if you shared this with Jocelyn? And I was like, I mean, that would be great, but no, like, I'm not gonna do that. And so being able to go, wow, I'm that guarded with how
Mm,
I'm gonna communicate because I'm afraid of her response. And and so we talked about a little bit more and then I broached it with Jocelyn, but I still waited a little bit. And then I felt comfortable, and so the way that y'all set up that we can do audio messages, that I would have never made it through text message university. Like, I needed to be able to do audios, like, I needed to be able to get my words out. I'm a verbal processor,
mhm,
and that just the experience was shaped so well where I was able to work into, and I think it took about 5 weeks for me to really cross a bridge with Jocelyn where I trusted that she could hold what I needed to share and that
mhm,
it wasn't that it was okay, like, that it was safe, and so we kept kind of dialoguing about that. And that is a very unique,
Mm,
very, very unique aspect of the emotional side of this for me
mhm.
that I couldn't get to the nutrition in any other program because I was so afraid of what the coach was going to do. And um so that was something really important.
Let's pause for a second and just, like, really take a moment for the grace that you gave yourself to just take time with Jocelyn,
Yeah.
So I think that that's another thing. We've been so conditioned that when there's a set time frame for something,
Yes.
a lot of us will be like, "Okay, quick, so I have 12 weeks, and I'm gonna get the most out of this 12 weeks, and I'm going to do all the right things, I'm gonna get straight A's," and our role is to kind of unwind that for a lot of individuals and go, "Well, that's actually not what we're doing here." Like, the
Yeah.
first 12 weeks are the beginning of your foundational practices, and then you will use those foundational practices for the rest of your life.
Yes.
So, the first 12 weeks are really an exploration. It's an opportunity to learn how you show up with yourself and with others when you know you're being watched, and we talk about this in the course too. But I just wanna honor you for actually the amount of grace that you did give yourself with acknowledging, like, first, you have so much emotional awareness, I will just say that, first and foremost, like, it's really beautiful to witness. So you were aware of, "This is coming up for me. I don't feel comfortable," or, "There's a way in which I am not feeling safe or trusting yet, and I'm sharing it with you, Shannon, because you and I had a tie that was mirroring of different trauma in our past."
Yeah.
So we really kind of understand where each other were coming from and why we would feel tentative to reveal ourselves in certain ways.
Yeah.
And so, but you gave yourself the grace and you just kept, like, kinda chipping away, like, "I know this thing is there, I'm not quite ready, give me a little bit more
Mhm.
time," you know?
Yeah.
And I just wanna reflect back that I think that's so beautiful because I think, unfortunately, a lot of us have been taught either to suppress and avoid and just go, "Well, I guess I'm not gonna deal with it," like, "I quit." Some people will get to that place and they'll be like, "I'm not ready to go that deep. I'm not
Yeah.
ready to get to that place within myself." And then some people will become, like, argumentative and project onto their coach perhaps, and there's just so many different ways, but for you, you really were quite graceful with yourself.
Thanks. Yeah, and it helped a lot that you both were so okay with it, and y'all kept saying, "What? How does your body feel? Like, how do you feel in your body?" And I would be like, "Well, I feel like this," and it just was so amazing to me that where other people would have gone to more restriction, Jocelyn was like, "I feel like I am supposed to hold space for you to be able to tell me how
Mhm.
you're experiencing something." And there was one time, oh, where was it? Oh, I know what it was. I was taking my niece to the movies. And this was probably like week 8. I was taking my niece to the movies and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna have the popcorn at the movie theater because that's what I want to do, or whatever." And Jocelyn in her response, she was like, "Hey, if you know you want to have that you want to choose that experience, God, this is so empowering. If you want to have that experience with her, eat the popcorn." She was like, "There are times that I will take my own popcorn because I can get a lot more and I can, and that's what I want." And it was this moment where I went, "Wait a minute, I get to choose
Mm,
the experience and
mm,
what I want to do in that experience." And the way that y'all design things is through it, like, we really do learn to trust and make those choices. Where used to it would have been like, "No, you can't have popcorn because it's got so much fat and so much carbs and you're gonna get so fat," and so this is like playing in the back of your mind. So you're trying to hang out with your super cool niece and you can't focus on that because you're so worried about popcorn calories. And I just went, yeah, like,
mm,
no, I get to make the choice. This is the experience that I want to have. And then the other thing that was really cool was there was enough repetition about how we get to choose the goal. And so
Mm,
then it becomes like, okay, hey, I have this goal. And today, I really want, yeah, the goal's really worth it to me. I can do this kind of popcorn. My
mhm,
niece and I are going to do this. So just like being able to dialogue about it and figure it out. And so it was the same thing for me. You're right. Like there was an extended amount of time where I needed to be able to dialogue about the emotions I was having, about the reservations I was having. I needed to stop and honor myself instead of constantly trying to please other people
mhm.
and then like legitimately sacrificing my well-being. And I was like, that doesn't work anymore. How
Yeah.
do I get to this other side? And y'all gave me the room to sort it out. And you gave me the room by letting me do the audio messages, being there and holding space, and it being okay if I didn't get it exactly right. So it really, there is such a beauty and an art to it, and it's rare. Yeah,
Mhm.
so rare.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah,
mean,
I can't say enough. So good.
well, Jocelyn and I certainly feel the same. We're like, we love Allison. So, yeah, it's so mutual. And it's so very cool. Like every time someone like you who really just goes all the way in and is so self-reflective, every time someone like you comes to the program, I'm like, I don't know if it always reinvigorates me to do what we do because I've seen so many people go through this. And I think it's always so fascinating for me that we're talking about food, but not really.
No.
It's a sliver of the topic, and if anything, we're talking about how this mechanism of food reveals everything else about us, and the people pleasing that could show up, where we bypass our own needs to serve someone else's needs before ours at our detriment if that's the case. And if that shows up around food, then it's going to show up everywhere else in your life. So then when you start to make these slow adjustments and choose something new around food,
Mhm.
then all of a sudden your mind starts to be able to go, well, if I can choose this differently over here, then where else can I choose it differently?
Oh,
And it
yeah.
have this little cascade effect. And this is where, Lisa and I have this track record. Lisa especially has a track record where people like quit their quit their day jobs and like go go find a new job. They work with her as a coach. And for me, I think because I'm so into the emotional release and the rewiring of behavior patterns and um, you know, shadow work and things like that, that this is my jam.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's your jam, girl. It's your jam.
it's my jam. And okay, so let's go back to that first memory.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And okay, and I had done enough work around more energetic
Mhm,
things, like I said, like the prayer releases and different stuff like that, that I I have experienced the freedom that comes with, like, really stepping in and doing something new. So even though I hadn't done this before, I
mhm.
feel like it was a I was willing to try it,
Yeah.
and I loved how you set it up. Like, everything felt so just comfortable, and it was an easy thing to move into, and that's really important when
Mhm.
you're hearing somebody talking about something that you haven't done before. And
Yes.
so when we set up the first time and we were doing our breath work, and like immediately I could feel in my body, and it was really nice to hear somebody say, "Oh, wow, like, you're really in tune," and I didn't know what that, like, I wasn't aware of, like, yes, like, I can sense, I knew I was
Mhm.
highly sensitive, but I didn't know how to leverage it kind of in the way that we were talking about. And so when we that first time, one of the first memories that came up was when I was a little girl,
Mhm.
and a little, I wanna say, like, 3. maybe 2 or 3 or 4, something like that.
Mhm.
And I remember there was emotion coming up, and so we were sitting with the emotion, we were kind of releasing it. I think there was a little bit of frustration, that she wanted to express, but a lot of it was around, I the main thing I remember is I saw this pillar of clay, like you would see like an
Mhm.
art class, like gray clay, like just a pillar of it. And in the pillar of clay, it was like clay that moves. And
Mhm.
so it was movable, but she was also saying, like, I am here, like I am present. You're not going to push me over. So there was this sense of clay stays solid. Like and I love that there was something tangible that I could hold on to, but it was like it's flexible as well. You can mold it.
Mhm.
And I remember thinking that was important because I did want to stand there as this little girl with my hand on my hip and say, like, I have a place here and I matter and I get to be here. And I also am flexible. Like, you
Mhm.
can move me, but you're not going to knock me over and you're not going to get rid of me.
Mhm.
And that time in my life was really, that age was really significant because of trauma that I experienced. And so, going back and being able to have a new memory, and you may be able to talk about that a little bit, like how that ties in, but
Mhm.
it definitely shifted some things in me that led to
Mm.
showing up differently with Jocelyn and in this space that we were working.
Yeah. Oh god,
Yeah.
it's so good. Okay, so I'll give a little recap also and help people who may not know what somatic emotional release is, um, which is something that I got trained in over the last couple of years and through a practice called neo-somatic emotional release. Wonderful company and practitioners if you're interested. So this modality is essentially a combination of many things. Some of it is yoga nidra, which is almost like a very low level, like hypnotic state. So you bring someone into what would be the parasympathetic nervous system, which allows us to receive information in a different way, but also allowing us to really be attuned to the sensations of our body, which were more likely than not throughout the course of our day, not very attuned to, right? We're so distracted by everything else that's going on. Or we might notice that we have pain or tension somewhere and we just think that well, maybe this will go away. However, in my own experience through somatic emotional release, what I have really learned to love and be so in awe about is that our body is feeling the mechanism of stored emotion, and so we will hold chronic pain as a signal from our body that we're still holding unprocessed trauma. And so in somatic emotional release sessions, like what you and I do, the body is actually, like I say this all the time, revealing a map of where it is storing emotion and it'll communicate to us through symbology.
Mhm.
And because our mind works in symbols, it's actually how we see in the world. Like we're not seeing what's here. Our mind is projecting back symbology. So just as it projects the reality around us, it also projects the reality within us, which means that as we're moving in and noticing these different sensations arising, especially if there's an emotion there, we just essentially pull on the thread and allow the body to speak what it's been holding the whole time. And within that process, we essentially get to honor what was there. And what's more important, we get to allow as much as possible what was there. Because
Yeah.
the thing that gets a little sticky for most of us is that dis-ease or chronic pain is a holding instead of an allowing. So, what's really interesting about emotions is that if you actually have an emotion that comes up and then you allow yourself to feel it fully, as we experienced, and as I've experienced, I remember the first time I did this, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to resist crying at all. I'm just going to do it, you know? And all of a sudden I was like, that's it. 60 seconds is my cap. Like, that was gone. I was I was prepared to bawl for, I don't know, like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was a solid one, you know,
Yeah.
maybe even like a whale. and it was gone. It was like it never happened. And I was like, "That's it?" So
Yeah,
I was like, "I want my money back." No, but
for real.
what I essentially like, it's part of the mechanism that when we allow emotion to just flow through our body, we don't have to hold it, right? And then it's going through its full cycle. Just like any sort of like inflammation cycle in muscle tissue too. It's essentially the same thing. So I wanted to give a little bit of that backstory so people can kind
Yes.
of get themselves and stand next to you as you're sharing about this. Because when you were having this experience of this little girl showing up, I remember that you had shared with me prior that you were having like, you weren't able to feel full sensation in your glutes and like
Yeah.
full activation there.
Yes.
What's interesting about that is our hips are our source of power. And especially as women, sometimes parts of our hips are part of our femininity.
Mm.
And so when you shared that, I'm not feeling like I can activate, or this isn't like the place where I really feel like I'm really able to move fully into, to me, I was like, okay, so what's going to show up there?
Oh,
And
yeah. Well, and it did. It wasn't that first time, but the second time, and that was yeah, it was amazing how, so when okay, so we did the first one,
Mhm,
and it was very productive, and I do think I remember I turned on my side, I think, on that one, and I was, like, weeping,
mhm,
in the first one, and I remember it was another time where I was like, "Okay, um, I just need to keep crying." I was like
yeah,
trying to tell you, like, just give me a minute, but like you were just like, okay, we're here. I really I want to let this all release, and I want
mhm,
to be in this moment. And so then like I think really my cadence was about every 2 weeks was about how
mhm,
it kind of went. And I felt like that was really good.
yeah,
And so the next one was the most interesting because when we got in there and I was laying there, I felt like a space on the top of my hip. And I had told you because that has been something that for me through the years has just been um it's just been more challenging to be like, why don't I feel like true engagement in my glute muscles? Like why, like what is this about? And then learning about some body trauma that had happened to me when I was really young, it made more sense. But I was like, well, I want to redeem that. Like I want that back. Like
mhm,
and so when we started working on that and it was okay, how did it go? It was like I felt it was above my hip, and then I could see like a long steel rod down my leg, and it was really stiff. And then, um, and this again is just me laying there, and my eyes
mhm,
are closed, and I'm just seeing these pictures, and I'll just share like what I'm
mhm,
seeing. And so
mhm,
as I'm seeing that, it's like, okay, and then you do such a good job of sitting and listening, and you might ask a question or you might, say something. And so I got to where, oh, the emotion that was tied to it was anger.
mhm,
And I was like, okay. And so you had some tools. And so you were like, hey, how would you feel about like trying to express it? And I was like, yeah, let's get it out. And so we're working on expressing the anger. And as we're expressing the anger, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. There's more I could sense in my
mhm,
body. There's more in my lower abdomen. And I was like, but it's not anger. And that's when you said, is it taking back your power? And I was like, I think so. And
mhm,
so when I was like, okay, I want to engage everything to do this exercise. And I said, I remember laying there and be like, okay, talk me through it. And so as you like do the prompt, I'm able to do it with my body. And I think we did it 2 or 3 times. And then that was a strength emotion, like a
mhm,
really just powerful, wonderful strength. And then after that came just I was the one who was crying
mhm,
forever, right? And
mhm.
just
Yeah.
weeping and weeping and weeping and weeping. And
Mhm.
um it was one of the most powerful moments of my life. Like
Uh,
one of the most beautiful, one of the most sacred. And it was so neat to know my body had I feel like the way I would say it is my body had longed for that, like, in the
Mhm.
depths of me, I had longed for that moment of restoration, of the power of my feminine, of just, like, being able to be myself and be more whole, and,
Mm,
if you would have ever told me that it was there, I wouldn't have really known, and if
mm,
you would have told me that it could have been facilitated so safely, and yes, I'm talking about expressing tears, but it was that to me was I don't mind that, right?
mhm.
I feel like
Yeah.
we move into that safely. Everybody's grid is, I guess, a little bit different, but um, and that to me was like, wow, okay, this is extraordinary.
Mm, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
such
deep share.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's such a beautiful thing. And how did you like, do you remember how you felt after that release?
Oh, yeah. I remember, well, number 1, I just felt so cared for. It was very nourishing and gentle, and, like, when we got off the call and I was just in my place by myself, and just being able to be here, and there was a lot of calmness, a lot of peace.
Mm,
And I think, like, usually if I have something like that, I mean, it's not very often you have a huge release like that, and I
mhm,
would say I was probably tired that night, like, slept really well through the night.
mhm,
Um, but again, it was just like, okay, maybe go for a walk or, do whatever, but I know the power of what that shifted for me. Like,
mhm.
that was a significant healing.
Yeah,
And that type of healing allows for the shifts in my body with the nutrition and decisions I'm making, and my body feeling safe really was
yeah.
more of like, I finally started to understand, wow, my body really hasn't felt safe. And so, like the big shifts for me in the program happened at like weeks 9, 10, and 11 because it just
Mm,
took me a little time to
yeah,
like get there. So,
yeah.
or seeing the shifts, I guess, like more releasing weight and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that is completely okay. We talked a little bit about this today in our group call, but there's been so many individuals who I've gotten to see go through this experience, also my own experience where we talked about it in our session today and with the group that many, many times we might mentally be there before our body manifests what
Yeah.
that looks like. So we gotta kinda be patient because it's almost like we're just waiting for the rest of it to catch up. And there's been so many beautiful experiences where I've seen that people are going through different seasons of their life. Like sometimes they're going through a death, sometimes they're going through a new family, like getting married, stress, moving countries, like whatever it might look like. And the body responds to whatever that is. And then sometimes we're in moments where we're going through this season of really releasing deep stored trauma. And
Mhm.
one of the things that I see over and over again is how the body will store either fat, almost like a protective mechanism around certain places in the body, almost like armor to protect itself from its
Yeah.
perceived threat. And that requires, to me, it requires patience and grace and care to allow the nervous system and the physical container to feel safe before it actually is like, okay, I'm ready to let go. And that takes time, and that's okay.
And I think that that's such a powerful thing for women to hear. Like, living life, you just have experiences that are really trying. And so I just know for me, I just have been so hard on my body about the
Mhm.
ways that it hasn't shown up the way that I wanted it to. And so to really settle down, and also it's helped to have people on the other side, like the Green Door team is so equipped with knowledge about the body. And so when you're talking to people that you can say, okay, like it's doing this, like, or I'm doing this, like, what does this mean? And to have somebody who doesn't mind sitting across from you and sharing certain things, it matters. Like, I know the next session that, I really wanna do with you, I had mentioned that in an audio, of course,
Mhm.
I was like, I feel like this is where we're supposed to go next," and I always do it being mindful that you're leading, right? But also you show up for me trusting
Yeah.
that, okay, wait, if that's where you feel like we're gonna go, and it's another space of like, it's the next space on my body map of like, this is a place that needs healing. And it really has to do with when I like growing up, especially from about 10 to 13, I didn't understand why my body looked the way this is just like laying it out there, but I
Yeah.
didn't understand why. I mean, I was like the chubby kid before I hit puberty,
Mhm.
and I was so confused as to why my
Mhm.
body was looking the way that it looked, and my friends didn't look like that, and I didn't talk about it. I didn't have anybody to talk about. I thought it just needed to be different than it was. And so what I didn't realize is that I was so I had so much emotion around it, disappointment and sadness and all of these things that have never gotten I just repressed them. And
Mm.
so it's such a beautiful thing to think, no, there's a way. There's a way for you to go and for us to work together and be able to acknowledge and see that and release that emotion. And then literally like that moment is done. Like I
Uh,
don't have to be there anymore. But that one for me is one I'm kinda hung up on.
well, I'm excited to
I
dive
know.
into, but I also, I love it too, like the way this sequence is going because what you're talking about, like you have the area that you wanna work on, and
Yes.
you're just bringing it,
Yeah.
and that I'm facilitating and holding the container. What I wanna share about this, which I think was such a beautiful understanding for me when I first heard it, which was, trauma occurs when there wasn't a sympathetic witness. And so the somatic emotional release space is visiting whatever that part of us is that needs to be fully seen with the sympathetic witness.
Yeah.
Whether it's yourself, it's always powerful when there's more, when it's you and an other, where you feel like you can really be in a space and be seen for what happened and both the release that you're ready to have. You
Yeah.
know, whether it's for releasing like an idea or a state of mind or a state of being or a conversation with a family member, like whatever that might be. So it really is so beautiful that your system, your body and your mind, your emotions are already kind of levying up the experience. And then we just go into holding and facilitation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just knowing that, like, a couple things, like, that came to me in the early morning, like,
Mm.
and it was just, like, a picture in my mind, and I remember the next day, I was, like, in the kitchen, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what was it? What was it? I know it's important," but it's just I think it's beautiful how you can find these rhythms, and you can have somebody to go, "I think this is something, but I'm not real sure," and kinda vet it with somebody, and that is the beauty of doing these sessions, is
Mhm.
you can it's a safe space to know that you're gonna have a sympathetic witness on the other side, and that is the part that I shut down because I didn't think that was gonna be there.
Yeah. Oh, man, and I think that's so common, like, that's where you and I, really, like, I resonate, and I think that's likely why I can show up like that in such a way because there were so many moments of my life where that wasn't the case. So then I had to create the opposite within myself, right?
Yeah.
And so that's so much of, I think, what most of us will end up doing and what I've learned so much through some of the coaches and facilitators that I've worked with. Shout out to Monica and Russ, because they are such an incredible support for me in my own journey. Just not having someone to reflect back your emotions as being valid or safe or understandable is really challenging to reprogram especially if you don't have an example of what an alternative can look like.
Yeah.
So if yeah, so if all you've ever been told is like when you say I'm feeling this and someone's like, "No, you're not." Or that's no, you shouldn't be, or don't worry, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely, and I feel like so many people have experienced that, and maybe they don't know how deeply it impact. I know I didn't have an understanding of how deeply, because I just learned to survive on the other, like, you just learn how to cope and you go on down the road, and that's been one of the things that's been very different. So in my journey, it was like things started with prayer, like prayer, kind of the
Yeah.
prayer ministry stuff, and then it went where I was getting support, like,
Uh-huh,
through prayer.
uh-huh,
Then it went to a trauma counselor who helped me meet me in my mind, but
uh-huh,
she's a body-centered, like, therapist. And so then, but the last piece was about not disassociating and being so far up in my mind. I haven't been living in my body. And so
right.
what we're doing is like, for me anyway, the way I
Yeah,
see it is, you're helping me show up in my body again and experience it in a way. And one of the things that you had said, that was so powerful to me was, like, for the last, 43 years, it's been like my body was protecting me. Like, it kept me safe.
uh-huh,
And that is so, so true. But
um,
so much of this has been about safety, and a lot of it doesn't serve me as much anymore.
uh,
And so knowing, oh wow, okay, I can show up and I can experience life in my body differently, where it, and I don't know if you want to speak to that, because, but I feel like that's the journey that we're on. Like, as we
yeah.
release this emotion, as the fear leaves, like all that stuff, I'm just getting to do things differently.
Oh my gosh, I mean, where do I start?
I know.
It it's really the journey of learning how to listen because so much of our programming in this reality, in this world, in our culture has been to outsource our authority to
Mhm.
somebody else, whether it's the medical community or the government or our parents or our teachers. It's all about they must have the answer over there. And if I question their authority, then generally I will be made wrong for it in some.
Yes.
And so, with that as like a general way of being, we are so disconnected from asking ourselves, wait, so it's not about what you're telling me to do, it's about how I feel about it? It's like, "What? Wait, wait, wait." I'm sorry, I'm just gonna take me which
For
is
sure.
what happens. Yeah, so when we're looking at nutrition, this is the mechanism. When we're looking at nutrition, we're like, "Okay, we have a sacred structure."
Yeah.
You think about how many like, you think about trying to create as much consistency as possible and as much understanding as possible so that the mind can pacify. So the
Mhm.
mind can be like, "Oh, I get it. There's a reason. Okay." And when we understand, it creates a safety in the mind, which creates a more regulated or sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system state. So a little bit more rested, calm, easier to understand information in that place as well. So with a nutrition component, once we have a container, a safe container, then it's easier for us to go, oh, how do I feel in this safe container? Do I like this? Does this feel nice to me? For me, how are my bowel movements? Do I have energy? Am I waking up and feeling good? Like, am I noticing? Like, what am I noticing? And the reason that we do that is because when we have so much erratic schedules throughout our life, especially around our food, it's impossible to understand why we're feeling what we're feeling.
Yeah.
So that initial structure is there for a very particular reason. It doesn't have to be there forever, but it's so necessary to create an environment that makes it easier for us to listen to what our body is telling us. And then we can take that same mechanism and move it into our emotions.
Mhm.
And this also actually ties directly into meditation, right? We wouldn't necessarily start meditating in the middle of Times Square in New York, would be like, what the heck is going on right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
A little hard
generally,
to focus.
yeah, you want to like think about doing it at the same time of day, perhaps the same time period, have the same setup, et cetera, so that you can start to see the thoughts that arise inside of that container and then be able to listen more deeply. And that's what it is. It's like in this process, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, and then spiritually, we're just learning to listen to what the body has already been telling us. And we
Yeah.
just so many of us have just never ever been taught because our life is literally not built for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so okay, so I had a question for you too cuz I was like, okay, so for you, how did you get to like your first introduction to this? Like to doing somatic release? Like I know you studied with the Neo team,
Mhm.
but like yeah, how was it for you that you got there?
Yeah. Oh, well, thanks for asking. I
Yeah,
love
no,
this is
really.
your story, but we're gonna switch to mine. Just
I love it. Well, yeah.
yeah, but it's great. So I had a pretty strong emotional reaction to some family members visiting. And it was one of those experiences where looking back, I'm like, that was a catalyst that had to happen in order to make me move. Right?
Mm,
We're going to make you uncomfortable so that you'll move. And like from a divine universal perspective kind of thing.
right.
I witnessed myself have such a extreme physical response where I literally saw red. I ran up the stairs, couldn't even feel my feet on the stairs, and was like charging at one of my family members. And Rafa was holding me back and he was like shocked, like, who is this woman? And I had never experienced myself like that in my life. I didn't even know that that was possible for me. And all of a sudden, I was like, wow, I have this capacity of stored emotion. And the thing that was very palpable for me with that is that before it happened, I was very aware that my body was going into an extreme panic. It was like shaking, walking around. I was like covering my ears. Like there was a lot of just it was like it was a huge drama that was occurring inside of my body, and I was also getting flashes of a very deep memory.
Mm, wow.
And so all of this was going on, and then once, like, the family members actually left the next day, I was like, "Wow, I need to work on this thing right here," because not only were there stored memories that just were revealing themselves in a moment that was not related to that, but was giving me the example of a similar behavior pattern that was unfolding within my family dynamic, which basically showed me that the way that my family parts of my family had shown up for me was to avoid, and that avoidance left me just the only one who could do anything to protect. And so that was really the start of my journey. I was like, had such an intense emotional reaction, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." Like, that is something, and my parents were never really angry when I was like I never saw it like displays of emotion growing up.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so it's like once your body is all of a sudden like emoting, you're like, "Wait, I thought this was wrong. Wait, isn't
I
this
don't
wrong?"
do this.
Right. Yeah, like we're like we don't get mad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the start of mine. And I was like, something I was told was not actually adding up right now." Yeah.
I okay, so when you were talking about it, I feel like this is one of the most powerful things about the vulnerability of podcasts and sharing because of the fact and I am also seeing this picture in my mind that feel like I'm supposed to share too of one of my best friends, she sent me this picture. She sent me a video of her 2-year-old daughter getting this amazing little truck, like one of those trucks you like drive around in. And homegirl was losing her mind. She was so excited. And I mean, like losing her mind, like talking about it so loud, squeals, running, throwing yourself on the ottoman, hopping back up, going back over to the truck. Like, and the way she was expressing herself was such a picture of, I was like, now I know I'm not wrong. I
Mm,
know I'm not wrong because if she can go and express the depths of joy that she has at
mm,
that capacity, like that is how I experience joy, like that deep. I want to throw myself on the ottoman, and or like just like in a really big way. And I also though I can feel anger or disappointment or different things like that. And so, it's you don't always hear everybody share their story about how all of a sudden they couldn't feel their feet. They like saw red and ran up and I'm like, but the more we know that, and then
mhm,
on the other side of it, it's like, yeah, there's a way to move through it
mhm.
to wholeness.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so okay, okay, so I'm gonna ask one more question and then we can
Yeah,
talk about
no,
me too.
I so
Um
appreciate it because it's really helpful, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
so for you, when you started moving through, was it like you did several sessions and little by little, or like then, like how did it look for you to get to the other side of
Yeah.
the experience, or to show up how you wanted to in the world? I don't know what the
Yeah,
word
no, no,
is.
no, I understand, and I really see, like, all of this as layers because 'cause I've done personal development work for a long time. Like, my first personal development kind of, like, retreat was when I was 16, and it was heart-centered therapy, so, like, this has been, like, a long time of me just,
Amazing.
going through all these things, but this particular there was a part of my life that I really just could not see. My system wasn't ready to see it because if I were to see it, it would have broken down every construct that I needed to survive. Like, if I had seen what I saw over the last, like, 3 years earlier than that, I probably would not have been able to make it. It's like I had to have gone through what I went through in order to be like, "Wow, okay." And then there's a huge grieving process. Like, I learned that our system is designed so that it protects ourselves, right? It will block out memories and delete things that have occurred, and it will protect itself so that we don't have to deal with that, right? If it's not useful, if it's not serving us, it will just beep, beep.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the mechanism inside of it isn't still running as an unconscious program. So for me, once I realized that, I have always my system, like, just like my usual way of doing things, is that when I identify that I have an unconscious pattern and now I can see a little thread of it, I'm like, "Okay, we need to look at that." And so I will address it usually in 3 different ways, personally.
Okay.
I will read a ton of books. We'll be like, "Okay, we have an Audible over here, we have this one over here," and, like, I will find some sort of, longer container program or facilitation,
Okay.
or something where it's not just a 1 session or 3 sessions, it's like so I went through my training, for somatic emotional release while I was working with 2 other therapists. So I was like, I wanna know all of the ins and outs of how this works from a practical level, like the brain, the body, the nervous system, and I want to have a practitioner who's already trained in this so I can experience it while I'm going through it. And then I really need a container where I am actively, consciously going and reprogramming these things.
Ooh.
So it was like to be quite honest, this period of my life going through all this stuff, like, my relationship was easily going to explode many times. Lisa and I, had some really, really hard times because it changes, like, if I'm changing the way I'm relating to myself as I'm seeing new things, it is changing how I relate to everything in my life. And so there's no way as you go through this kind of thing, there is no way, there's no possibility where you will show up the same in your life. It just won't happen
Yeah.
because, when you start to reclaim parts of yourself, like your power, like we talked about,
Yeah.
when you start to go back in and go like, "Oh, what? Like that was mine the whole time and it's been there the whole time and
Yeah.
I've just been experiencing like this mechanism." Um, nope, not gonna do that anymore. And then where have I been doing that in my life?
Yeah. Oh my God, I love it so much. I'm like geeking out of my heart. I'm just like, it's so good. It's so good. And even how you're talking about it, it's like when you see the unconscious pattern and then then you're like, okay, well, let's reprogram this. And like, and so I think, yeah, it's just so good to hear. Oh, I love like even through the nutrition, I feel so much more empowered
Mhm,
through Green Door and through this emotional release, like the sessions, because of the fact that it's like, yes, like this is how you shape a container to be able to reprogram. And for those of us who desire, like, oh, I think I want to do that differently. I would like to show up different in the world. It's like, no, you can't. Like,
yeah,
we can do it. And so just to hear that that's how you got, like, that's what motivated your start and the beautiful transition you've gone through. And so, and I love, it sounds like hearing, Rafa made it through, like y'all made it through and Lisa made it through. And I mean,
mhm.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Two people made it.
That's right, and, I really do believe that everyone is put in your life, perfect timing, the closest relationships that we have in our life, even the ones that are the hardest, they're our biggest teachers. So whatever's happened in my earlier life, like, I've come now to a place of deep gratitude for the ways in which those individuals have played a role in my evolution. Right? Because just as we kind of shared before, and it took me a while to get here. Took me a while. Um, what we were talking about before is that if I didn't have a certain type of container created for me, I had to create it within myself,
Yeah.
right? And so I've realized that one of the ways that I've done that is to create the kind of container that you and I get to experience together, which is to give you what I was never given. Or in that kind of way, into that deep, like, witnessing and holding that space, without any judgment or any projection and just being very, very neutral in that way. And I think that that's such a rarity, and it's such a gift when individuals are able to both give it and receive it. It's like it's everything.
It is everything. It is everything. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so good.
Well,
Okay.
you're so good. Thank you for asking.
Oh my
Because
gosh, I love it. Yes. Well, we haven't spent much time at all hearing about those stories, and I just am such a believer in, like, there's so much power in sharing, and so it's just
yeah.
beautiful. Mhm.
Yeah, I so appreciate, and, there's parts where it's like if I am running, the Green Door in such capacity and we're part of a business and we have, there's a fine line sometimes between like sharing about personal things and keeping it professional. And so this is something that I'm always like tightroping because of course,
Yeah.
I also want to respect the individuals in my life that have been a part of the journey. And so it's a unique thing to be able to talk about it, but I think right now, just as the way that we're speaking about it, it allows honoring of all parties,
Yes, that's
you know?
very fair, very
Yeah,
fair.
yeah, because we're all just what is it? Timothy Leary says, I believe, we're all just walking each other home.
Oh, yeah.
I really
Oh,
like
that's so good.
yeah, it's so good. Okay, I feel like we could talk for multiple hours,
Mhm.
right? But I want to make sure that we kind of yeah, I think I really wanna reflect back to you, especially that, like, the journey that you've been on so far, to me, has been such a beautiful unfolding, and it feels like it's the first chapter of many chapters.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and yes. the unfolding of many. And I think that was one of the things that that even in the past couple days, like when I've stopped and talked to you about, I'm finishing up week 12,
Mhm.
and what it has looked like to go, okay, we're here at the end of week 12. And I felt like one of the things I said, I think at week 11 was, I feel like myself again after 3
Mhm.
years.
Mhm.
And that to me was just like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this." Like, I still am carrying 40 pounds that I'm just like, I would very much like to release this. It feels like
Mhm.
that is, gonna be that was my natural kind of weight.
Yeah.
And yet to be able to say, I feel like myself again
Mm.
was just so huge. And so even feeling like myself again, there's this spot where I'm going, "Ooh," but I'm sitting here in this space of void. We kinda talked about, like, this void, and there is emotion. There's emotion, there's longing, there's a little bit of emptiness, there's a little bit of sadness, some, I don't know, uncertainty, a lot of uncertainty, and
Mhm.
yet so much peace. And
Mm.
so I feel like I was like, I can't deny that I wanna sit and walk and, do, like, evening walks, but, like, be present in the day in this new space that I do feel like is the very beginning. And
Mm.
so, I'm really grateful for the fact that I can continue to just keep doing, like, I'm like, "Dadgum, we just got the rhythm." Like, I just
Yeah.
got this rhythm, and so I wanna keep going. And for me, I still feel like the cadence will probably be every 2 weeks to
Yeah.
do another emotional release session, and like continuing to meet with Jocelyn. And
Mhm.
because I feel like the momentum is just starting to pick up, and I'm just enjoying myself so much. Like, I think that's another huge thing, is I know so many people that are, everybody's trying to be healthy, middle age, like understand all the menopauses, the whatever, like do the blood sugar, like all of a sudden you're like,
All
what
the
the hell?
menopauses.
How did this happen that we're here? And we all, I'm trying to figure it out. And so, but to be able to truly enjoy it, like that's one of the things that Jocelyn and I talked about, is I was like, I like in my 12 weeks, I released 12 pounds and so much inflammation and like all kinds of things. But what happened was, I was enjoying the process the entire time. I
Mm.
wasn't feeling completely depleted or deprived, and like
Yeah.
I got more strength, and I have had more energy at the end of the day to go for amazing long walks. And so it really is restructuring. I know everybody says that, but it's like a lifestyle, where you're going, "Oh my God, I did it. I got to like do a new lifestyle." And so,
Yeah.
yeah, but when you've spent years trying to figure it out, and finally
Mhm.
it's like, "Oh, okay. We
Mhm.
figured it out." And then we also have community around us for the next time we need to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's done really, really well. And
Aw.
so that's how I talk about it when I'm not talking to you. I'm like, "Mama, it's just done really, really well." You
Aw,
know?
I
So
so
cute.
I so appreciate that too from, like, a fellow educator,
Yes.
'cause you get it.
Oh, I
Yeah.
get it. I appreciate it so much. Like,
Yeah.
hmm, yes,
Yeah.
my little teacher heart is like,
Right.
"This is excellent."
I so appreciate that. Yeah, because I'm like, "This is how I like to learn."
Oh my gosh, thank God somebody's doing it. I'm like, "Yes." Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I need to learn in, like, 3 different ways. Like, yeah,
Yes.
experiential, some sort of literature, right? It's like all systems need to have the input to have it really soak in. Yeah.
So true. It's
Yeah,
so true.
right. It's like
I
we
know.
can't just read a book and then write a paper.
No, no, the experiential side of it is the most fun.
It's yeah, it's everything. Like we have to be able to go through the paces and actually do the movements ourselves.
It's so
But oh
true.
man, yeah, I mean, your whole initial journey has been so beautiful. And I just also want to reflect back to this part that you creating safety everyone's from a different place, but you creating safety to me is setting you up for such incredible success as you move forward.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will kind of go through maybe like our program or some other program, and they will expect of their body that it should be somewhere it's not.
Yeah.
But that's not kindness. That's us trying to push our body to arrive at something before actually taking the steps to meet it where it's at and to witness it where it is.
Yeah.
And it meaning like our physical vessel, like this beautiful, amazing thing that operates without us having to think about it every single day of our life. And like, it's just so crazy that we live in this vehicle. Our consciousness lives in this vehicle. And so many of us haven't been taught how to feed it, usually are speaking very negatively to
Yeah.
it, which I mean, I'm totally one of those people that has been in that path. And just the adjustment that can be had when we look at our body and go like, thank you. Like, thank you for holding me. Thank you for holding my entire body. Like,
Yeah.
digestive system. Thanks for doing all the things that you put there, like lungs.
Yeah.
Thing I can see things. Like, wow.
I know, right? Well, and when you said that, what it made me think of was there was a day that I reached out to you and I was like, "Hey, how do
Yeah.
I know that I'm speaking negatively about when I look in the mirror, like there are parts of me that I am in the body. I'm so sorry. I'm telling everybody this, but I'm like, we got to share it, but it's like there are parts of me that I look in the mirror and I have such negative talk. And I just said, how do we move into a place where this is not it?
Mm. Yeah.
And so you were like, okay, now let's walk, we're not gonna run a mile. We're gonna like walk. And I was like, oh no, we're just focused on walking right now.
For
And
sure.
so you gave me one thing to start with. And then um and then the other thing that I think is neat is in the past couple of weeks, there's been more and more of the universe like showing up, like different things showing up where it's like, okay, Allison, what would it be like to just really embrace who
Mm.
you are today? Like
Mhm.
really accept who you are today. Everything about who you are today is
Mm.
enough. Like it is enough. Like you are, and so I do think these are the things that take longer to like if you're willing to just be kind, be
Mhm.
patient, and
Mhm.
provide that safety, which I never was either. It was always, we need to look this way, we need to be this way. And so that's been a huge shift of,
Mm.
okay, let's slow down. And I do want to say, y'all did such a good job of saying you were doing the hard work. Like when I would send an
Mhm.
audio where I'm in tears because I feel so much shame or something's coming up, and Jocelyn was just like, "Thank you. I'm so honored that you're my student. Like you're
Mm.
doing the really hard work. Like this is the hard work. Like stay in it. Like don't quit." And that to me was like, man, okay, they see that I'm like digging deep here and this is painful, and I know that's not everybody's journey. Everybody that shows up at Green Door isn't going to be
Right.
like
Yeah.
in the
Every
throes.
completely
Like I
unique
was in the
path.
throes. But for those of you who might hear this and be in the
Yeah.
throes, like to know that this is a safe space to go there and to
Mhm.
feel things so deep and
Mhm.
to have it be reflected back that they're like you're perfect the way you show up and it's beautiful, and it has moved me to a place of deep acceptance for myself that I
Mm.
haven't experienced before, and we're just getting started on that.
Yeah. No, I love this part. Oh gosh. I want to reflect back something here too, just around like the awareness. This is like part of the mental awareness of how we speak to ourselves because I think it's
Mhm.
so sneaky how we will like essentially pick ourselves apart. And I think once we start to get a little bit of a sliver of how we do this, like how clothes are fitting or how, we look at a photo or whatever, like we're in the mirror and going through a conversation. And it's a little uncomfortable to basically go, oh, this is how I'm talking to myself. Like, damn. And then have to be like, "Oh, well, people say that I shouldn't," and, like, there's a should and shouldn't conversation that's sometimes there too. And, of course, we want to be speaking kindly to ourselves, and if the model that we've had isn't that, whether it's, like, how our parents talked about their bodies or our bodies, right? Some of us have definitely very conflicting information there. So we will have adopted this model from how our parents or caregivers talk to us or themselves. And then we will have to slowly start to reprogram. And that reprogramming again is a one step at a time. It's like,
Yeah.
looking in the mirror and going like, you know what? I think your hair looks really nice today. And then
Yes.
to the next room,
Yes.
It's like be like, "We did it. One
I
thing
know. I
good."
got to like my shoulders and I was like, "Ooh, I really like how my shoulders are coming along. Like I've been lifting. Like my shoulders are looking good, And I was like, okay, great job. Let's go, And it was
Yeah,
like, that was good.
totally.
We did it. We did it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just like one thing at a time, Like, I love how you showed up today in that conversation. Like, I've started to actually do this with you in mind. I haven't shared this with you yet,
Uh,
where at night I will go to bed and I will start at the bottom of my feet and I'll be, "Thank you, toes. Thank you, feet. Thank you, calves." And honestly, by the time I get to the top of my head, I'm like, "This is kind of amazing."
oh, I love that. Oh, I'm gonna have to try that for real.
And then, like, organs, like, "Thank you, spleen."
Yes.
Oh, like, "Thank you, stomach." And some of that was, probably prompted by our experience with Anthony with the fascial
Yeah.
release. But just kind of making that like a little beautiful practice because it brings awareness to how much our body is doing for us every day. And I also say thank
Yes.
you to like other people and God and, but the body's now in that process. So,
Exactly. Well,
yeah.
and for me, one of the big things for me that I thought that really threw me off was when I was going on my like evening walks, I would look down and I would really I'd be like, damn, my legs look good. Like I like the way I look. Like, and I thought, okay, why am I hyping myself up? And then when I get in, I look in the mirror, it's a
Mm.
total different, it's a total different story that I'm saying. And so I have really been more intentional about making myself stop and like be in the mirror and in the
Mhm.
mirror go, okay, and be aware of the things that I've been saying
Mm.
that are not nice, but then also saying, like you said, like, man, okay, thank you, and that type of gratitude, but I am being intentional about doing it in the mirror because for whatever reason, it's when I'm looking at myself that
Huh?
things get a little twisted. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, yes. I
Go,
think
girl.
I think that that's so fascinating. It's making me think of this exercise that I did in a different coaching program in 2020, which was basically they called it the mirror exercise, and you look in the mirror and you just say to yourself for 5 minutes and look into your eyes and just say, "I love you.
Okay.
I love you. I love," like, in all the different ways. "I love you." And you just stare at yourself, and that is probably one of the least expensive, most powerful exercises. Um
Yes.
But the mechanism there that I'm actually thinking about is that even our image, like when we look down at our body, it's almost like there's a little bit of like a disassociation.
Mm,
We're not able to see our eyes, like windows of the soul kind of thing. But when we see ourselves in a mirror, it's also a distorted reflection, right? Because it's like it goes in two different directions. And I don't know if you notice this too. I've been sharing this with Rafa lately that when I look in a photo on iPhone, when I'm taking a photo of Rafa, he never looks like he does in real life. Like,
yeah.
I will take this photo from, like, 10 different places. I'm like, "Dude, it's not the same thing."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've been so kind of like, "Wait, what is happening right now?" And starting to question how we actually see and perceive reality through these filters, which
That's
is, like
powerful.
which is kind of a whole other topic.
Yeah, for real.
But even looking at the mirror, so if the camera distorts and then looking at the mirror, like, how does the mirror distort?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So that's where my mind goes, but there's so much more in that case, like, yeah, there's a lot there.
There really is, there really is, but that's good. It's
I
a
might I
great
might I might have some midnight thoughts and then
I
get
know,
back later.
you might. You just might.
It's
That's so
possible.
good.
Mhm. Yeah, okay. I think I'm gonna wrap us up.
I think you should. I think you should. I feel like we did it.
I think yes, we did, and I love it. I
I do
loved this
too.
session. I feel like I wanna have more.
I think you
How
should.
this goes, yeah. Thank you so much for being open to sharing.
Yes.
Yeah, you sharing and just like how you are going through the whole experience is just such a beautiful example of one journey. And I can only imagine how many people are going to resonate with it because it's an emotional experience. It can be. You know,
Yes.
some people will go very for the practical. I just want to like figure out my blood sugar and macronutrients, which is great. And then for those individuals like yourself who actually are ready and see the opportunity to discover new aspects of yourself, it can be like one of the most transformational things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I loved it. I loved sharing. This was very
Yay.
fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing it, and I'm so grateful for all of it. Okay, you guys. Well, thank you for listening. We're so glad if you made it to the end, which I really hope that you did. And if you have any questions for Allison, do you want to be open
Yeah.
for questions? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you can
Definitely.
join our free circle community, or you can contact us through our website, and then we can connect you with Allison if you would like. If you guys are listening inside of the circle community, you will likely know who Allison is, and then you'll see her name. So you can tag her in our circle community and have a conversation if you'd like. So thank you for listening. Allison, thank you again so much for your time sharing, and we will see you guys next time.